With the launch of the USS Excelsior and rising tensions with the Klingon Empire, Starfleet Command would begin to reimagine and re-engineer its fleet once again. And out of this new era of starship design, the Georgiou Class would be born. But what's the story behind this battle-ready starship design? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the Georgiou Class as first seen in Star Trek Online to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, I love this design. I've always felt that there were three eras that we've never gotten enough information on through canon or even beta canon, that being the TMP era, the decade between the motion picture and the Wrath of Khan, the Ambassador Class era, the revolutionary technological breakthrough into isolinear technology and starship design, and then this one, the Excelsior era or the early 24th century era. And so I had a lot of fun retexturing this 3D model and creating a story for you good trinaries to really enjoy. But as always, because this is just a beta canon video, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust, and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so with all that out of the way, let's begin. The original launch of the USS Excelsior had been seen as a complete failure. The dream of achieving transwarp velocities was dead, and although expanding Starfleet's knowledge of warp travel exponentially, eventually leading to a complete rewrite of the warp scale in the early 24th century, Starfleet Command was not impressed. Assured by their best and brightest warp theorists that the transwarp engine would be a success, the organization had spent a significant amount of time talking up the design and what it would mean for citizens throughout the Federation. No longer would Starfleet starships potentially be days or weeks away from a member world, colony, or starbase that was in distress. Starfleet would be able to respond within hours or even minutes of a reported emergency, and this impressed members and citizens of the Federation greatly. After the Excelsior's failure to stop the theft of the USS Enterprise by Admiral James T. Kirk, seemingly with the starship stalling in space and needing to be tractored back to space dock, an investigation would reveal that Captain Montgomery Scott, assigned as chief engineer of that starship, had in fact sabotaged the vessel, removing several component chips needed for the transwarp drive to perform correctly. Mr. Scott and the command crew of the USS Enterprise would be charged with sabotage of the USS Excelsior, while the chips would be replaced and the Excelsior would go on her first trial run. Unable to break the transwarp barrier after several months of testing, the Excelsior would return to space dock in shame. But once a full analysis of the shakedown had been concluded, one thing became very clear to Starfleet's new command council. That being the sound design of the Excelsior and other technological improvements contained within that class. And so rather than scrapping the vessel, the Excelsior would receive an extensive refit to bring her more in line with Starfleet vessels of the time, and would once again be sent out on a shakedown cruise. But this time, it performed way above and beyond anyone's expectations. So much so that Starfleet Command would make the unprecedented decision of commissioning the class as the replacement for the aging Constitution class refit, and to lead the organization into the 24th century. Meanwhile, relations with the Klingon Empire were beginning to crumble once again. The Genesis debacle and Starfleet's refusal to hand over James T. Kirk to the Empire for the murder of a highly respected and honored Klingon captain had only exacerbated the situation, leading several member worlds, along with Starfleet Command itself, to believe that a war with the Klingon Empire was inevitable. And to that end, Starfleet Command would secretly begin preparations for that eventuality. And with that, the Georgiou Class would be born. Sitting at a length of approximately 437 meters, The Georgiou class was designed to be operated by 220 officers and crew members. Inspired by the solid design of the Walker class of the early to mid-23rd century, it would be with a sense of irony that Starfleet's starship designers would choose the Walker class as the basis for this class, being that the USS Shenzhou, a Walker-class starship, had been involved and that some believed had caused the first war between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. With a standard safe cruising speed of warp factor 7 and an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 9 for 14-hour increments, all old warp scale of course, the Georgiou class would be a small, fast, but also powerful starship design. The intent with the Georgiou class was to create a starship of the line that could go toe-to-toe with the Klingons' best Katinga-class battlecruisers. And to that end, the starship would have the latest and most powerful phaser emitter banks and torpedo launchers both forward and aft. Special phaser emitter cannons would be attached to her unique nacelle pylons, giving extra added weapons power to the class. Even her deflector shields would be updated in strength and power, with a special ability to allow the starship to easily configure its defensive shielding specifically for Klingons' disruptor weapons fire. A single shuttle bay would be included in the aft section of the starship, and was equipped with Starfleet's latest fighter vessels, should they be needed for combat. Science and research facilities would be kept to a minimum within the Georgiou class, with those spaces being redesigned as large cargo bays, which could be used for torpedo storage or troop transport. Unlike the Centaur class, the Georgiou class would not see a rocky start to its career. Rather, like her Excelsior class big sister, she would outperform all expectations for the class, with Starfleet committing to secretly build over 100 Georgiou class starships. In the long run, however, none of this would matter, as very few of the Georgiou class would ever be constructed. The destruction of the Klingon moon Praxis in the early 2290s and the subsequent signing of the tentative Khitomer Accords would derail Starfleet's plan for a grand battle fleet. Following the implementation of fleet limitations as directed by the Accords, Starfleet Command would suspend further construction on the Georgiou class, opting to pour the majority of its allowed resources into the Excelsior class itself. And in order to foster goodwill with the Klingon Empire and stabilize the peace process in the hopes of a long-term agreement, Starfleet Command would decide to refit all existing Georgiou-class starships, removing most of their weaponry and reconfiguring the large cargo bay areas back into science labs and research facilities. And the Georgiou class would live out the rest of its life as a short-range, light exploration starship, usually sent into areas initially explored to conduct second contact protocols. And by the 2320s, with the invention of isolinear technology on the horizon, the decision would be made to quietly decommission the Georgiou class and relegate her to a forgotten page of Starfleet history. But that would not be the end of the Georgiou class's story, as in the early 25th century, she would be reborn thanks to the Yard 39 project, into a brand new class that would see her begin her life anew as the Shenzhou class. Created for an eventual war that never came, her excellent service record and eventual rebirth would ensure that what was once forgotten would be thrust back into the forefront of the Federation, cementing the Georgiou class's place, finally, in Starfleet's history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of the Georgiou class and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Want to help the channel create and construct a secret class of starship to fight its enemies? Then consider becoming a channel member subscriber or a channel patron, both a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to both memberships is in the description below. Thanks again for watching, live long, and prosper.